Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Music Meltdown. And what we're going to do something interesting here. We got an album review of an artist I covered before. Dylan's here, so obviously we are talking about the new Death Cab for Cutie record from 2022, Asphalt Meadows. A little
Let's
late,
go.
but really wanted to make sure. Nope, it's Saviors by Green Day. This album came out 16th of January 2024. It's 15 tracks, nearly 47 minutes long, and I believe it had four singles or so. Green Day were an interesting band, as mentioned in the initial video, one of the first bands that really got me into music. Have not been crazy about anything that they've done since Play for Century Breakdown. Could Saviors break the trend? We'll see. Dylan, any opening thoughts on the new record, Saviors?
Um, yeah, I don't know how my expectations going into this record compared to what other people's expectations were. I feel like 95% of the world falls into one of two categories, which is either really liking this general style of music and being a Green Day fan, or not liking Green Day, or at least not caring and not thinking about them. And kind of like we discussed about in the first video, I'm a Green Day fan. They've got four records that I really love, so many other songs that I really love. But they're also an anomaly in the sense that I don't like any other band like them for the most part, or any band that they've influenced. I have no attachment to this general style of music. And yeah, for me, even going on beyond their recorded output of the last 15 years has been the ultimate mixed bag for me. So I kind of feel like 5% kind of in the middle. Um, I don't know. I think that coming off of Father of All, which was largely not just a musical disaster, but like the marketing and PR for that record was just about as bad as the music. I think that real fans uh were just hopeful they'd put out something like slightly resembling not just Green Day, but real music. And I think that anyone who doesn't like them, they wouldn't have those expectations at all because they haven't had expectations in a long time, if they ever have. I think that mine were slightly more towards the former, but as each pre-release song came out, I once again found them maybe more so right in the middle of them. And I've heard the whole thing. I've listened to it very closely 3 times now, as I know you have. Um, and we've talked privately about it. We've talked a little bit publicly about it, and I think generally we feel pretty similarly, but I have absolutely no idea what you think on a more distilled sort of like an in-depth basis.
All right. So let's address the elephant in the room, which is that this record isn't very good. People are claiming that this is the best thing that they've done since 21st Century Breakdown. This is about on par with Father of All for me. This is a very light 2.5 star record, bordering two for me. Here's what I'll say. The singles, The American Dream is Killing Me, Look Ma No Brains, One-Eyed Bastard, and Dilemma. Three of those four songs kind of stink. And then you have Dilemma. The American Dream is Killing Me. It was fine the first time. It gets more and more grating every time you hear it. The chorus is just nails on a chalkboard. Look Mono Brains might be the single most anonymous song that they've created ever. And this is excluding stuff like Too Dumb to Die from Revolution Radio, and later on in this record, 1981, which I'll cut to the chase. That might be the single most nothing song that this band has ever put to tape. It is the most stock Green Day thing I have heard in a minute. One-Eyed Bastard, the most notable thing about the song is the royalties that they have to give to Pink, and the rest of the songs isn't that interesting. And Dilemma is fantastic. Like, Dilemma is the one reason why this record isn't 2 stars for me. That song is miraculously one of the greatest things that they've put to tape since '09. It's probably their best song since '09. with maybe like one exception for me. It's a genuinely great song, one of his best pieces of writing in general. Um, However, this record, like most Green Day records after Warning, sounds like dog shit. It's still way too loud, way too annoying. Billy Joe's sort of synthesized vocals that back everything are at their worst here. People say that this record is better than 21st Century Breakdown. In my opinion, this is quite literally 21st Century Breakdown for the modern era, but the songs just simply aren't as well written. I think that Bobby Socks is a really fun song. It's nice to hear Billy Joe being gay again, but he sounds like dog shit in the chorus. Just the way that he's singing that and really trying to hit the notes is rough. It's not good. As I mentioned before, in 1981 is really anonymous. It's just nothing. It's the most bland of Green Day songs out there. Anytime that they slow it down on this record, it's bad. Goodnight Adelaide sucks. The tone shift in Susie Chapstick is abysmal. It's one of my least favorite Green Day songs. I hate the latter half of that song. It's almost like Belle and Sebastian, kind of like almost twee-ish pop. It's utterly disgusting because Billy Joe cannot do it. Coma City is nothing. It just sounds like a rewrite of Murder City half the time lyrically, and it's just not that good. Corvette Summer's a bit obnoxious. Strange Days Are Here to Stay. Once again, there's not much to add. Living in the 20s, where he's talking about fucking his robot. Billy Joe, my boy, you suck at writing lyrics now. How the fuck did you shit out Dilemma? It blows my mind. Father to his son is just really obnoxious to me, which is how I feel about the slower songs on here. He's trying to slow it down and get all sort of sentimental and stuff, but the issue is his voice. He cannot sell it at this point in his career because he's relying so heavily on like this super nasal register that he always sang within, but he's getting worse as he goes on because it's like I expected him to grow up at some point, and I know that we disagree on this to a certain point. It really just feels like Billy Joe is trying to write the exact same songs that he was writing in the 90s, slightly updated for 2024, and it just stinks. The title track doesn't do much of anything, and I really can't stand the closer Fancy Sauce. I think it's just really annoying. This album's 46 minutes. I've heard it 3 times, and it feels longer every time. Dilemma is fantastic, and I think at its core, Bobby Socks is a pretty good song, but for the most part, I don't really care for much of anything on this record, and I'm utterly blown away by the reception this is getting. Like, this is getting positive reviews in the circle that we're in from people that aren't even really Green Day fans. And it's like, this is the most stock Green Day record, yet somehow is the most unexpected thing that they've ever done. It is such a bizarre album and an anomaly to me. It's a very generous 2.5 stars. Not a fan. Not saving the band in any right. Dylan, go ahead.
So I think this is somewhat what I expected, which is there's some certain not big disagreements because I don't know how passionately I really feel about too many of these songs, but um, definitely things we disagree on. But the overall sentiment, I mostly agree with. I think my biggest issue with this record for me, after 3 in-depth listens, is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. Um, I'm on record multiple times that I value musical and melodic diversity across records. I like it when artists are able to stretch out and showcase different parts of themselves. Like that's historically what I've always loved about my favorite classic rock artists, especially groups like the Beatles, the band, Led Zeppelin. And how Green Day has done that in the past. I think Nimrod is probably their most successful record in that aspect. But Saviors to me doesn't seem as diverse as it does uneven. Speaking of Nimrod, you've got a song like Look Ma No Brains, which is an all-time bad song title. The lyrics aren't great, but the song title is worse. To me, it sounds like a sequel combination of Nice Guys Finish Last and The Grouch from Nimrod. It's got good energy, but the super polished production doesn't work as well for me. Then you've got another one of the pre-release singles, One Eyed Bastard, which everyone's on them for seemingly ripping off the Pink song. I think it's overblown. It's a blues riff. You can find that riff in so many other songs. It's not that big a deal. But as much as we might make fun of Justin Hawkins for calling somebody out on imitating or emulating someone, I actually thought his observation of the verses sounding like an Arctic Monkeys song was very spot on. So you got that, and then you've got Goodnight Adeline, which sounds like comeback era Aerosmith to me, like late 80s, early 90s Aerosmith, which I have a soft spot for because they were one of the first bands I loved, but I don't exactly love that song or reach back to it. Then you've got Living in the 20s, which is at least part three of them trying to be the Hives. But the combination of his delivery and the harmonies in the chorus reminds me of Fall Out Boy, which is no bueno for me. A couple of funny lyrics in that tune, but a lot of bad ones too. Then, oh my God, you've got Corvette Summer, which I don't know what the fuck this shit is, but I do not like it. The verses are fine. The verses in Corvette Summer are totally inoffensive, but oh my God, the chorus is so bad. It's cheesy as fuck. I normally like their kind of power poppy stuff. Green Day does a lot more power pop than I think a casual fan or a non-fan would realize, and they pretty consistently do it really well and a lot better than a non-fan would realize. But there is a particular quality to the chorus of Corvette Summer that drives me nuts. The lyrics are cringeworthy. The layered octave vocals create this extra layer of shit. And the bridge riff is ripping off something, and I can't place it. And I know I'm going to think of it as soon as we're done recording. Um, I might hate it because it honestly gives me like pop hair metal vibes. And overall, I think the reason I might be down on this record more than some people is because I think it might be their most 80s sounding record. I already mentioned the Aerosmith comparison on Goodnight Adeline. The title track is very 80s, more god awful lyrics on that one. He also randomly sounds like Liam Gallagher at points on the title track. I notice it the most when he sings Everybody's Asleep but Nobody's Dreaming. Um, Father to a Son goes full 80s power ballad with the schmaltzy sweeping string. It's not as dirgy and awful as something like Outlaws, because at least there's like a melody to it. But the epic guitar tones and the pounding drum fills and the strings and the horn section, you know, even before all the bullshit kicks in, it's not firing all cylinders. I think if he took a more delicate approach to the vocal delivery, it would have been nice. But like you said, he's pushing so hard with that nasally vocal right from the beginning. And it goes against what I've always liked about him as a singer. Like he's demonstrated in the past that he can do a great, soft, delicate vocal. But um, I will say it's not irredeemable. I think there's some good 80s influences on here. I think 1981 goes a bit against the grain in the sense that it's actually good lyrically. I love She's a Cold War in my head and I am East Berlin. I think that's a great line. Also, for you to say that song is anonymous, that song has the single best bass work that we've heard from Mike Dirnt since Insomniac. He's been neutered. He's been neutered. Find me a good bass line on 21st Century Breakdown. Like
No,
I
I
even
agree with you. Mike Turn's baselines have been shit since fucking Warning, but at the same time, like
no,
just the
but
song itself, the whole groove of it, like nothing about
I
it. It just sounds like they're trying to make a Dookie or a Nimrod song, but they can't pull it off anymore because it's 30 years in the future. It sounds like the shitty Blink-182 stuff that they're doing nowadays, where they're just trying to
oh,
relive their glory days, but they aren't doing it nearly as well.
no, see, I disagree with that. This is way better than anything. Like I would take 1981 over literally any song that Blink-182 has ever done, even in their heyday. But I don't like I understand what you're saying. I don't even necessarily disagree with the sentiment because that's what I said about Look Ma No Brains. I'm like, this is a Nimrod song, but it's not on Nimrod. It doesn't sound like Nimrod,
Yeah.
and therefore to me it sounds good. But I think 1981 really just in the context of this record, like, oh wow, there's a good bass line, there's a good lyrics, it's got good energy, so I can deal with it on this record.
I'll give
I
you
also
that it has
think,
a pulse.
yeah, and
It
I,
has
I
a
think
pulse.
yeah, Mike's bass work is also is good on the aforementioned Goodnight Adeline, and maybe it might be his best record in a while. He also shines on Coma City, which is also pretty 80s, but again, great instrumental outro on that. Again, some of the better lyrics. See, there's a quality to Susie Chapstick that I really like. I can't place it. It almost reminds me of something like that Foo Fighters would have done on Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace. I'm with you on the ba 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 da da bridge that like I can do without that. I do not like that. Um, Good lyrics on that one too. Like outside my window, there's nothing but a sky. It's just another vacant, cold, and lonely night. Like the relationship between those lyrics and the melody, I think, is strong. Strange Days Are Here to Stay isn't awful. I don't care about it, but there's good lyrics there. You know, promised us forever, but we got less. Everyone is racist and the Uber's running late really got me. Um, I'm in the opposite boat as you on The American Dream is Killing Me. I didn't care about it when it came out. I was like, this is totally Green Day by numbers, and it is. It's completely Green Day by numbers. But for some reason I can't explain, I've grown to really enjoy it, and I have absolutely no idea why. It could be because I inherently like their basic sound and Billy Joe's melodies. But I also think it is a very spirited performance, some clunky ass lyrics, but I'm not going to pretend I don't like it. And I like it more now, knowing the context of the rest of the record. But 100% in agreement. I don't know if saving grace is the right word. I don't even know if calling it a high point fully does it justice, but Dilemma, in my opinion, the single best song they put out in 20 years and one of their best, period. Billy Joe sounds amazing on it. It's got a quintessential perfect melody, a perfect chorus. I love the Beatlesy bridge, the ever so slightly reminiscent, like redundant overtones to it. And not just great guitar tones, but different guitar tones. Like you are lucky, like maybe once on any given Green Day record, or even every other Green Day record, they'll bust out a guitar tone where you're like, what? Like the guitar solo I mentioned the other day in Peacemaker, you're like, oh, wow, that's actually different and really good. I feel that way about Dilemma. And in the context of the record, it's the first song on the record at track 5 to have good lyrics. I think it's a total triumph. If this album was necessary for them to write this song, I'm ultimately happy that the album exists because I'm happy to have this song. But I can't give the album too many flowers because it's so inconsistent. Fancy Sauce, I actually think is like a diet dilemma in the sense like it's got some pretty affecting lyrics about his time in treatment, but it's not the best. And you know, I've seen a lot of fans really loving Bobby Sox, including our bisexual king Clay. And I agree. I love that he's leaning into that part of himself. Billy Joe's always been outspoken about his bisexuality, but it's nice to see him being this comfortable with it. Trey plays his ass off on it. I actually think it's got a super Weezer influence, like almost like something you could have heard on those first couple Weezer records. But yeah, I don't like how Billy Joel. I don't like how Billy Joel sounds on most things. I don't like how Billy Joe sounds on this. I actually think the screaming chorus is one of the better parts of it because you can tell it's not being pitch corrected. Everywhere else, my God, what's already an unconvincing nasally vocal is destroyed by the blatant auto tune, most noticeable on, in the "and I'll bore you to death." Whoa. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, stuck out like a sore thumb. I can't unhear it. Um, Ever so slight spoiler alert, because we're gonna revisit our rankings, probably just go 14 to 1. There's certainly enough good things happening here where it's not going to claim the new bottom spot. But yeah, as a whole record, it's not getting the job done for me. I think we're kind of destined at this point, whenever they put out an album, to get a whole, this is their best since American Idiot, or it's their best since 21st Century Breakdown, or whatever. And I'm not there. I'm not there with this one either. I'm also at 2.5 stars for it.
Well, pretty much I have little to really add, but a few things I do want to point out. Probably the worst part about Corvette Summer is the fucking cowbell. that just keeps blaring through the song. It's awful. It's so obnoxious. I hate
That
it.
chorus makes me want to die.
Most of the album makes me want to die, but that's besides the point. The American Dream is killing me. Every record they need since American Idiot, they felt the need basically to have this like weird, stupid political thing. This sounds like one of the shitty background tracks that would have been on Revolution Radio to me, but it's like it's
I
I don't know.
I don't know how to like. I'm not gonna pound the drum for it being a great song. All I know is that I just kind of like it. In the same way, we've talked about like this sort of weird I've noticed in the Green Day community there's this backlash against Know Your Enemy for some
Yeah,
reason. And to me, I think Know Your Enemy is a much better song, but I think they're
yeah.
similar in the sense that like these are very simple, uncomplicated, three chord songs with pretty strong melodies.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I totally get why people don't like it, but I don't know. I've grown to dig it, and I'd rather listen to it than most of the songs on this record.
My laptop fucking crashed, so here's a separate video clip. Um, yeah. We're gonna do the updated album rankings, top 20 songs, and overall thoughts on Saviors. Ooh, I have a Java update. But anyways, for my updated rankings, a couple things have switched around since the initial one, because I did re-listen to everything up to 21st Century Breakdown for this. At the bottom is still comfortably Dose. Dose is still pretty shit. Sorry, Dylan. 13 for me, I'm going with Uno. 12 Father of All, 11 Saviors. Like I said before, very close. I gave Saviors the edge because it has a good song, though. 10, I got Trey. 9, Revolution Radio. 8, Kerplunk. 7, Insomniac. 6, 39 Smooth. 5, American Idiot. Fourth, 21st Century Breakdown. Third, Dookie. Second, Nimrod. And my favorite is still Warning. Dookie and Nimrod shot up a little bit. But past that, I think fairly similar scores, all things considered.
Yeah, I gave a re-listen to everything, and there were a couple things that almost changed. It depends on the day and my mood for Dookie and American Idiot. Like they could really be interchangeable, and I almost bumped up 39 Smooth, but I'm sticking with it. My order is still the same. You don't need to apologize to me for Dose. I don't. Dose is my second. My 14. My last is still Father of All Motherfuckers, star and a half. And Dose is my second to last. I'm at a cool 2 stars for it. Uno after that, and then I've also got Saviors at number 11, at 2.5 stars. And my number 10, I have Revolution Radio, and I was going back and forth between Saviors and Revolution Radio because I like Dilemma far more than anything on Revolution Radio, as well as the trilogy. Um, but in re-listening to Revolution Radio, I also don't like it very much, but I'm giving it the edge because I do think it's at the very least a consistent record. It's a record that sounds like it knows what it wants to be, and I don't feel that with Saviors. So those two are close. And then from there, I have it all the same. 39 Smooth at number 9, 2.5. Kerplunk at number 8 as well. I have that at 3. Trey at 7, 3 stars. Number 6, I have 21st Century Breakdown at 3 stars. 5, Insomniac, 3.5. Number 4, Nimrod at a strong 4. I considered
Do it.
considered bumping it, but I'm
Do
not.
it.
No, Warning is still my only 4.5. That's number 3. And for right now, sticking with Dookie at 2 and American Idiot number 1. But those, like I said,
There
could
you go.
interchange on the day. Both Dookie and American Idiot have 5 songs apiece in my top 20 songs that we're about to get into. Do you want me to start that, or do you want to
Well,
start?
I'll kick it off, I guess. We're gonna do 20 to 11 and then the top 10. I didn't remark which record is the stats, so oh well. My notes for these videos are always great when it comes to Green Day. 20th from American Idiot, I'm going with Give Me Novocaine, which is kind of funny with American Idiot when making my short list. Pretty much how it's always labeled on streaming is the one song into another. And with like every one of them, it's just like one of the songs I wanted and then one of them that I didn't. So it's like I had to add them. 19, I'm going with The Static Age from 21st Century Breakdown. Probably one of the more rocking, just fun tracks off that record. 18, I got Castaway from Warning. 17, probably one of the bigger surprises of a song to make it, a Ordinary World from Revolution Radio. Pretty much the only time on any of the last three records where they can pull off a soft song and it'd be good. 16, I think that you thought this one could be a bigger overlap for us. I got She. 15, I have Scattered as well. 14 is Minority. 13, When I Come Around. 12, I believe my second highest placing from American, no, third from American Idiot is Holiday. Probably the single from that record that I'm the least tired of at this point. Next up, I have Walking Contradiction, the closer from Insomniac.
Nice.
I believe that was 11. We'll call that
Yeah,
11.
yeah,
Counting's
we've actually
hard.
got a lot. Castaway just missed my top 20. I
Ooh,
also really enjoy that song. Static Age is one of my favorites on that record. Ordinary World, I dig. No
that's
major
nice.
arguments here. My 20 from Nimrod, I think one of four I have from Nimrod, is Worry Rock. Awesome song about a relationship struggle. I think it's one of his finest lyrical efforts. Really great band performance. Um, Number 19, first of the big hits to make my list. I've got Longview from Dookie. Mike Dirnt tripped some LSD and wrote one of the most iconic bass lines ever. And for as much as it's known as the masturbation song, I think it's actually just a very effective song about isolation in general. Stood the test of time for a reason. Number 18, I led you astray. I didn't think there was a possibility this could happen, but I've got a song from 21st Century Breakdown. Um, I've got Last of the American Girls. A lot of really confused and overblown lyrics on this record, but she puts her makeup on like graffiti on the walls of the Heartland is one of my favorite Billy Joe opening lyrics. I love the guitar sounds on the song. Kind of like I said, one of those more interesting guitar tones. I think it's the perfect example of him writing an extremely simple melody, but a very smart and effective melody. It's risen a
Believe,
lot in estimation.
believe that was actually my 21, like just missed.
Nice.
It's the track from that record that has grown the most for me over time. So it's
Me as well.
just a really good pop song at the end of the day.
Killer. I completely agree. I did not expect it to make this list, but it did. Number 17, my only track from Insomniac. Uh, it's overplayed, but it kicks ass. It's Brain Stew. It hits so hard musically. It's literally the same chord progression over and over, but they play it with such conviction and intensity that it works. I love the juxtaposition of how dark it is musically with the melody that, take it out of context, it's like a very poppy, almost folky melody. You know, I'm having trouble trying to sleep, counting sheep are running now, and you put it against that really dark stuff. I love it. Number 16, I've got Holiday from American Idiot. I beg to dream and differ from the hollow lies. Such a great fucking line. Killer energy. Yeah, this is a hit that's never lost its luster. And also another overlap from American Idiot, number 15. I've got Gimme Novocaine. I love the dynamics on this song. The acoustic and the subtle slide guitar add to it really well. I feel like I could mention how good the melodies are on every song because he's such a good melodist, but another good one here. And number 14, a trifecta of American Idiot right in a row. Look, Wake Me Up When September Ends maybe has lost some of its luster because it was my favorite song on the album before it was a single. And then it blew up. It became overplayed. It's become a meme. But at its core, I think it's a very wonderful, heartfelt song. Number 13 from Warning, I Deadbeat Holiday. celebrate your own decay. There's a vacant sign that's hanging high on a noose over your home. Uh, Pretty much everything that I like about the Warning album is on display here. A really tight, intimate band performance and more solid songwriting from Billy Joe. Number 12, I can't remember if you mentioned liking, I think you might like this song. It might be our first disagreement, but from Dookie, I've got Pulling Teeth. Um, right from their first album, showing that they're so much more than just a punk band or a pop punk band. They're nailing this kind of Beatlesy, Kinksy song with great harmonies and solid lyrics. And number 11 from Nimrod, I have Oshinka. Some of Trey Cool's best drum work ever. Really expansive melody and really cool soundscape overall.
Interesting. Some divergence there. I think that Pulling Teeth is fine, but it's probably in the bottom half of Dookie for me. So interesting to see that make it. Onto the top 10 songs here. There's going to be some vast disagreements, but probably the surprise of the century to it make both of our lists. I have at number 10 Worry Rock. Probably one of the more interesting things to remark about this is Weezer made a cover of it, and it's not too bad. That's it. Number 9, I have Letter Bomb. I just think that this song is really great, really cool. I love the fact that it makes Extraordinary Girl worth listening to on streaming. Number 8 for me, I feel like this one's probably going to be even higher for you. I have Hitchin' a Ride. Just probably the best showcase of them really expanding outwards on Nimrod. It's a really fantastic song, and the way it's one of the few like great Billy Joe kind of like shouts and screams at the end of it, just super cool. Number 7, got tons of 21st Century Breakdown coming up, my friend, with the title track here. Just their best ever like movement, like epic that they did. It's just so cool how it moves into each other. I love the whistling at the front. One of the few points in which Billy Joe sort of backing himself up is really good too. Just probably the best point in which they were able to conjoin all these song structures together. Like it a lot. Number 6 for me, going Last Night on Earth, probably their best of the more sort of stripped back, sort of just beautiful ballads that they do. One of his best vocal performances was a clear standout from the first time I heard the record. Loved it a lot. And let's go 3 for 3, because my next one is Viva La Gloria, Little Girl, which I think is just so fun. It's super cool. It has almost like this quality that my favorite Green Day song is going to have of like this sort of really out there kind of more like Latin inspired groove to it at points. It's so cool, this song, the way that it just like goes across the little piano fills. Number 4 for me, gonna be Redundant. Just great. I'll let you talk about it more because I know damn well it's coming up for you. Number 3 for me, I'm going with Macy's Day Parade. I think that Green Day earlier on in their career are able to strip things back and create these more introspective, these more thoughtful songs very well. Unfortunately, on Saviors, they all sucked. Coincidentally, number 2 for me, I have What's Her Name. This has always been my favorite on American Idiot, just a really lovely, sort of stripped back, more sort of thought provoking, probably his best set of lyrics on the record for me. I just think this is a really lovely written song. And then the best Green Day song that they ever did sounds nothing like a goddamn Green Day song. It is Misery from Warning. This song is just outstanding. I love the like sort of I don't even know how to describe it, the like cabaret feeling to it. It's just so out there. It's so weird with like the mariachi band. I don't know why the fuck this is a Green Day song. I think that they sort of forgot to give this to Chumbawamba or somebody, but it's so fun. I love it a lot. Misery, number 1.
I love it. It's not on my list, but I do love Misery. I like all these songs, which is more than you'll be able to say about my list. But which, funnily enough, Macy's Day Parade and What's Her Name are two songs that I've always liked, but I always felt like I was supposed to like them more than I did or more than I do. But
Looks
even
like
though
you're very
I,
subconscious there.
yeah, oh, they had, well, and even though I disagree with your overall assessment of it, I also love love might be strong. I like the song 21st Century Breakdown. And actually all the songs from that record, Last Night on Earth has grown on me. And I've always liked the second Viva La Gloria, Little Girl. And actually, I do not have Hitchin' a Ride on my list, although I quite enjoy it. What I do have number 10, probably the biggest surprise of my list is I have Dilemma from Saviors. I really cannot stress how much I love this song. I think part of it is certainly recency bias. I think part of it is just not thinking at all that they had this in them because they always have a song on any given record. Some records they even have a couple. I mean, we can tear the trilogy to shreds, but there are good songs across those records. There's good songs on 21st Century Breakdown. There's good individual songs, but nothing like this one. Nothing where he puts the melody and the vocal performance and the arrangement and just everything about the song is hitting so hard right now. I'm surprised at how much I love it. And I am surprised at how much you don't like my number 9, which is Homecoming from American Idiot. I think it's magnificent. I think The Death of St. Jimmy and East 12th Street are really well constructed. I think Nobody Likes You is extremely, extremely affecting. I actually really like Mike's vocals on it. I think it's appropriately epic at the end. It's not as overblown as 90% of what came on the next album. I think it's very, very good. My number 8, some more overlap with you. I've got When I Come Around from Dookie, another all-time bass performance from Mike on this one. They play one of the most calming chord progressions in all of music, and he still writes just the best melody over it. And again, great lyrics right from the get-go. And also from Dookie, number 7, Basket Case. This is another one. I've heard this song 1,000,000,001 times, and I still think it's absolutely fantastic. Another one of his best opening lines ever. I think the simplicity of "Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once" is it's so much better than I think people would give this band credit for, just thinking they're a dumb pop punk band. And another amazing performance from Trey Cool on that one. Number 6, I've got Scattered from Nimrod. So we've got that one in common too, I believe. Right? Yep, you had it at 15. Another great melody, great song of heartbreak. I love him. I love Billy Joe and Mike's voices together on that one. We've talked a lot about how, starting after a certain point, Billy Joe started doing most, if not all, of his own background vocals. And I think the band really misses something with that because I think their voices really, really work well together as they do on Scattered. Number 5, I've got the title track to Warning, which I know that I maybe should hate because of how much it rips off Picture Book by the Kinks, but I'll go one further and say I like this song better than Picture Book. I absolutely love the way it sounds. I love the melody on it. Just always been a big fan. And from the same album at number 4, I've got Minority, another one. So many of their hits to me have become hits for a reason and have stood the test of time. And Minority just packs such a great punch. Another great Mike Dirnt bass line, one of his last great bass lines for a while, given that it was the second to last song on the record before American Idiot. Number 3, yeah, I did think that we both had She a lot higher on the list. But one of my favorite melodies he ever wrote, some of my favorite lyrics he's ever written. The high point of that record for me, really beautiful song. And equally beautiful to me is my number 2, like you mentioned, Redundant. Incredible chord progression, another unbelievable melody, great lyrics, great band performance. I might argue, even though it's my number 4, I might argue that Nimrod is the absolute peak of them playing as a band together. Because I listen to a song like Redundant and I hear some of Billy's best ever guitar work, guitar sounds, guitar layering. I hear incredible, not just individual parts from Mike and from Trey, but great working together on their end. And number 1, as I alluded to in the album's video, is All by Myself. No, I'm kidding. It's not All by Myself. It is Jesus of Suburbia for American Idiot. Just an absolute incredible achievement on their end. If you listened, not even just to Dookie and Insomniac, but even before that, going back to 39 Smooth and Kerplunk, if you listen to those albums and, someone told you they had something like Jesus of Suburbia in them, you would think they were fucking pulling your leg. But they pull it off unbelievably. It is not as awkward as some of their other songs that they tried to string together, like 21st Century Breakdown, even though I like it. But yeah, I love every single individual part. I love how they all blend together. It's a 9-minute song and it never feels like it to me. And I absolutely love it. And I'm excited to hopefully pull the trigger on seeing them this summer and seeing them play it live along with the rest of that record.
Well, good for you. No,
Good
Jesus
for
Suburbia is cool. There are some parts of it that I really like, but on the whole, I'm just sort of. Eh. It's a good song though. It fits for the record. So
we've
yeah,
got it. It looks like 8 matches by my count in the
that's
top 20.
more than I would have anticipated. We
And
even have
also, yeah, I don't think anything to agree. I mean, yeah, people might be surprised to see Misery as someone's absolute favorite. Someone might be surprised to see Dilemma make it into somebody else's top 10, but I don't see anything super disagreeable on here to the extent like none of us are putting, Kill the DJ in our top 20 or anything. So,
we'll have to ask Clay for that one. We'll have to ask Clay for that
yeah.
one.
Hi, Clay.
The bisexual professor. Lovely man, that guy is. Well, with that being said, I don't think you or I want to talk about Saviors anymore. What else is there to say? We may have to say more about it on Wednesday because my laptop crashed.
And we'll pretend that we haven't had an hour-long conversation leading up to this.
With that being said, however, this was the last I will hopefully talk about Green Day until they release Father of All 2 in 2030. With that being said, I hope that you all enjoy this, and I will see you all eventually.